I'm plugged into the Agorist Nexus. We need the whole community connected. We're the alternative collective. Self-sufficient and effective. Tell the rug from effective. Each one teach one.
So, another episode. Welcome back to the Agorist Nexus podcast. My name is Jeremiah Harding, and I'm here with Dag. And the general state of affairs is catastrophe already. So I hear you got a hurricane coming through there that's gonna melt some faces.
It's possible. It's always just a wait and see with these things. We were actually out of town at a meetup this weekend, hanging out with other cool, Liberty folks, and didn't even know that all this was going on. And we're driving back down, and our parents are calling us like, make sure you get gas. And oh man, everyone's going nuts at the stores and all this. But I don't know, man. Like, I've lived here my whole life, so I've been through a few hurricanes. I feel like the craziness definitely gets crazier every year as this media machine that people are so addicted to sort of feeds them constant fear. Now, in fairness, you don't want to be stupid. Like, you definitely want to be prepared for a hurricane, but it's the whole like panic thing. Like, so this happens every time. Looking on, scrolling through Facebook, and a friend of mine in Tampa, he works at a video game store, and he's like, man, people are coming to my video game store and to buy the $2 bottles of water out of the cooler, where they sell sodas and stuff, because they can't find water anywhere. Nobody can buy it. People need water. People need so much bottled water or whatever. And like, that's fair. Like, you want to be prepared. You want to have water on hand in case you lose utilities. That's a big concern, really. But you live in Florida. This happens every year. Why don't you just have water? You know what I mean? Like, why don't you just have this stuff? Like, everybody goes nuts for all this stuff. And it's like, I'm getting pretty good in my life at being like prepared, and it's kind of like, I got to make sure like the farm's buttoned up as much as possible, make sure I have enough feed supplies for the animals. But like, we've got canned food, I'm going to fill up a couple barrels of water, but we have water anyhow, but I'm going to make sure we have plenty. We have a generator. I'm going to pull it out and run it a little bit this afternoon, make sure it's in good working order, all that, but I have all this stuff. And we've had years where we didn't have this stuff and we did get hit with a hurricane. And we were, Irma 5 years ago, we didn't have power for 9 days. And like, we have a well, so we can't pull water out of the ground, if we don't have power. We didn't have a generator at the time. It was, it was a little rough. It was a little uncomfortable. So, no matter what, a situation like this sucks, but at least if you're kind of prepared for it, it makes it a lot better. And that's really been like, as I've been talking about here, kind of like my kick lately is like, skills for, this kind of thing. Cause like, this is something I get a lot. You have people who look at you kind of crazy for being like a prepper or whatever. And then they always follow up.
Well, you could have just left it at look at you kind of crazy, because they just do anyway.
That's very true. But like, they always follow it up with like, oh, if anything crazy happens, I'm coming to your house. And it's like, motherfucker, no, you are not, because it's not just like, okay, let's say you're poor or whatever. You're just not, your prep isn't that good yet. It's like, doesn't mean I'm not going to welcome you into my home or whatever. There's a problem. But if you have the attitude that I'm going to do absolutely nothing to prepare for this bad situation, and if it does happen, I'm going to come to your house while making fun of you for it. Like, no, because I don't want your attitude, your mindset, your obvious, lack of ability to have skills and planning and forethought. I don't want you around my compound, motherfucker. Like, no.
I'm an irresponsible sloth. Let me be a parasite on your operation.
Mm-hmm. Now, you want to bring something to my front gate? You got to trade? Hey, man, let's talk. You know what I mean? But I will only, and it's not a commune, but I will only take people in, to our whatever you would call this situation in a shit hit the fan scenario. If you're useful or,
why not call it a commune?
To the table. There's just such connotations I hate, and because it is my property. It's not. I have the ability to kick anybody off at any time. Like, that's the thing. It's still a private property situation, in my opinion. So, and I don't have anything against communes. Like, some people do. I wish people who do that all the best of luck. I think there's no reason that can't be successful. I think it's a certain type of person or personality type who might be more suited for that, and that's not me. If I had to, because that was a situation, I could live wherever, but I would much prefer to have my stuff and my space,
Well, I
and
mean
whatnot.
that's just a music platform now.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Oh man, I'm gonna make me get all nostalgic about MySpace.
You can do that. We can wax poetic about MySpace for a bit.
I just want the song. The song when people come and it plays the song that you put up. Oh, that was the best. I
Yeah,
really like that. Uh,
autoplay features. You got your edgy fucking like theme formatting on the site so that everything looks like a fucking like 90s Hot Topic shirt.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when I left mine, it had a Subaru WRX theme to it. I was driving that at the
Why?
time.
Okay, actually, let me ask you, what the
Uh-huh.
fuck is with Subaru and Subaru owners? Because like Subaru never tells you why you should buy their car. They never fucking tell you. I don't care that love is what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Shut the fuck up and
Because
tell me the
every day is a
specs.
winding road. Sheryl Crow taught us that in the old Subaru commercials, where it was every day is a
Yeah, but
winding
that
road was the song.
song wasn't that good.
It probably wasn't.
What?
I loved my Subaru, but it was, I was 20 and I worked on cars, and it was basically a little race car. And so it was awesome and I liked it. So that was my story. Subarus
That
aren't that popular down here, but when I went up north, they were everywhere. I assume, they have all-wheel drive. That's the thing. They at least when I had them was a very good, reliable car. But it was an O2,
yeah,
so it's
well,
been quite some time.
they are okay cars if you want to mod and turn them into a rally, but like
Mhm.
at the same time, like they're not very good cars on their own. And forgive me if I don't want a car that runs on love. If I'm posting a Craigslist ad and I post my Craigslist ad and I say, this car is great, it's in great working condition, it runs on love, you're probably not going to think that's a great car.
These are those old Simpsons, and they had who Ed Begley Jr. Is that the old environmentalist guy? He had this go kart that runs on his own sense of self satisfaction, and I always love that concept.
Ooh.
Like I'd love a golf cart that runs on my own smugness. That's an easy emotion to work up. You gotta if it's gonna run on an emotion, it's gotta be something that's easy to work up and satisfying. Which love would be great, but I just can't promise that 24 hours a day. You know,
Yeah.
I just can't.
You can't level that kind of commitment. It's
Yeah.
you got to choose between the missus and the Subaru at that point,
Yeah,
and then it's just
yeah,
like,
yeah. How much do I have to drive? It's a whole thing. So, yeah,
yeah.
and in the instance of being prepared, I probably recommend a good truck. But I like having a twofer. I like a small car that gets good gas mileage and having a truck, because then it's best of both worlds. If you got to make tracks, you can, and if you got to make trails, you can.
Well,
So
I would probably say a Jeep because you can throw a winch on that.
yeah, you can a lot of trucks. And this is just because I work on car electrical systems. I just wouldn't own a Jeep or Chrysler product after like 1998. So,
Right.
but my old lady has no six, and hers has been pretty good. But yeah, they were just the new ones are. I don't know. I don't know what to make a new car. So okay, you
Well,
can't. There's a lot of they're very like
it's like a new woman, it's mostly plastic.
it's true. There's a lot of very specialized maintenance. That's it is something you kind of have to have like a dealership like nearby. It's a lot of electronics, and a lot of people, especially older car guys like myself, we poo-poo that because I like being able to work on my own stuff. That's why I like my '97 Dodge. But there are, if you're not the type of person who works on their own car, there are a lot of benefits to the newer cars and the higher technology. But if you are somebody who likes to work on their own cars, it is tough. The the amount of computerization. Now, like I drove a relatively new car recently that had all sorts of safety features and blah 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 that my vehicles don't have. And it was neat. I'd rented a car, so I had this thing. And it was neat, like the lane departure, and it tells you like if you drift out of the lane, like it tells you and stuff. Like, it's kind of cool. It automatically dimmed your headlights when another car was coming. Stuff I've been installing on cars aftermarket for years. But so it's neat, honestly. Like if I had like a young child learning to drive, I'd probably feel safer with them in one of those cars. But I mean, fuck, man, we didn't have any of that. But I had a lot of friends die in car accidents, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Regular
Yeah,
old D
fucking
point where I don't go anywhere.
fucking comes off like what was that? Death Proof. You see that
Hmm.
Quentin Tarantino thing?
No.
Dude, okay, it's fucking great. So it's part of the Grindhouse double feature. There's Death Proof and there's fuck, I can't remember what the other one was. But okay, so Death Proof, it's a cab, right? Or it's
Hmm.
not a cab, a car, right? And this car is considered death proof. And it's there's this scene where this chick has her leg out the window and she's not wearing a seatbelt, I think. And the guy, he slams on the brakes because he like is a psychopath and shit. And she fucking or okay, just to be clear, it's been a really long time since I've seen this, and I think that was the case, and she like had her leg cut off by the thing, and then like later on they attach a gun to the end of her leg, and she's using this leg gun, like walking around on the barrel of a gun and using this leg gun to kill
I
things.
definitely remember one of the Grindhouse movies where there's a chick with the leg gun. Um, I don't remember the with the car, or if you're outside the protective vortex of the car. I don't remember that though. But well, it is easy to really just think that like safety features are going to like save your life, and really, of course, the answer is be a better driver, pay attention, put the phone down. When you're driving in traffic, make sure you always have an out, so you're never trapped. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, and pay attention to what other drivers are doing. That's ultimately how you're safe, and that's how you should teach your kids. So there is a lot of things like that where it's like safety features are great, but at the same time, like they make us lazy and weak. So you gotta learn the good fundamental basics. So on that note, good fundamental preps can save your life, or at the least make your life a lot more comfortable in a time of inevitable uncomfort or uncertainty. So it's easy to put something like that together, guys. If you don't already have a basic prep, even if you're not in hurricane zone, I'm sure you have some sort of natural disaster that you have to worry about, or economic catastrophe, or government what have you, or global what who's it, all sorts of crazy stuff. So even just, I mean, if you can just put together 10 days and then you work up to 30 days and then 60 days of like supplies, like it's so when the coup started and you couldn't get toilet paper, all this stuff, you couldn't buy rice, all this, like let's say you just keep, one extra, case of toilet paper in your garage, or if you have the space, hopefully, whatever. It's like you just don't have to worry about running out of toilet paper and something like that. And then you're also not being a burden on the system as a whole, because this just in time supply system that we have, like it works really great when there's no hiccups, right? But when there's any hiccup, it's a catastrophe. So allow those products to be on the shelves for other people at that point. So you are helping others. You're not, it's a very unselfish thing, really. I've heard people say, oh, preppers and stuff are selfish because of whatever. And this is mostly, stupid, really, really stupid writers who say things like that. But I have heard that argument made, and it really is unselfish, because you aren't just looking after yourself. You aren't just looking after your family, but you're making other supplies and resources available to other people who maybe aren't prepared and have the ability to be prepared or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's my wrap on that.
Well, they say, um, also, I think I might have been combining the two Grindhouse movies because there's two of them, and I think I combined the plots because I'm looking at this and it's like he slams on the brakes, smashing her skull on the dashboard. So I think maybe I was combining the two plots. I could swear that the chick had her leg hanging out of a car window and it got cut off. I could swear that was what happened, but maybe that was the other part of the Grindhouse double feature. And
Yeah,
like,
because there was a couple of the movies in there, and I remember being a little confused of the whole story the first time I watched that. The dude from
yeah,
Lost
so
was in it. Yeah.
the chick with the gun was Planet Terror, and that was the zombie
Yes.
apocalypse movie. Yeah. Okay. So I was combining the two plots. Yeah. Anyway, I just had to correct the record in case there was any Grindhouse fan that like would shut off the thing. I didn't correct the record. So the record, let it be corrected now. But Yeah, they call preppers selfish because they didn't want to make it better while they could. And also, they talk about, like, you were talking about the water. They could get a life straw. They could get a
Mhm.
filtration system instead of water bottles. But that
Yeah.
just shows how they act during an environmental
Yeah. Well,
situation, like a fucking
I,
apocalypse,
I
whatever. They're
I
they're
think
gonna
part
go
of it
for
is
what's convenient. They're not gonna like.
if you're in the city and like utility stop, then I mean there might not be much of a source of water. Because like that's our thing is like we couldn't pull water if there's no power because we use a well. So I mean we could go down to a lake or something and use life straw, of course. Like there is water, you know. They're just I don't even know if they I don't even know if they know what to do in Tampa. Anyway, I'm just meaning to interrupt you, man. I'm sorry.
Well,
Go
also
ahead.
you could put a like we were talking before the show about like
Mhm.
mining cryptos, and you could put a wind turbine on your property, and if you ask me, that would probably do pretty well during a hurricane.
Assuming it's still there after the hurricane, yeah, depending on how bad you get hit, yeah.
Well,
A lot of
that's why
people
you
would
would get one
probably
of those.
drop them. They'd probably drop them during a hurricane, but after the hurricane, it'd work fine, you know,
Well, like if you
because
get one
the
of the
real
cylinder
windy,
ones,
yeah.
then it would have a lower profile and less chance of getting destroyed.
Well, the hurricane itself only lasts a short period, a few hours or something. So, let's say 12 hours or let's say 24 hours the most. Let's say you took your wind turbine down. You could live for 24 hours without your wind turbine off or whatever, but you can always put it back up after the
Especially if you
hurricane.
got battery backups.
Exactly. And then after the hurricane, when you don't have power for a week, that's when your wind turbine comes in really handy. So I've had this. So I'm, a bit of an environmentalist, but I don't like environmentalists. I've been over that plenty of times, but whenever it's really frustrating because people just get so anti environmentalists, so it makes it really hard to have a conversation with people sometimes. And case in point, I was mentioning to somebody, oh yeah, I want to do this like backup power thing, wind turbine, solar, and batteries to power all my chest freezers, so I just never have to worry about them, blah blah. And they start going off and how it'll never pay for itself and blah blah blah, and it's a waste. And I'm like, okay, power. I get my power for about 10 cents a kilowatt hour, through the power lines. It's pretty expensive. So yeah, 10 cents a kilowatt hour at just powering my freezers. Yeah, maybe those things will never pay for themselves. But when we run out of power we don't have power for a week because of a hurricane, and I don't have to lose all my meat and stuff in my freezers, that value of power is no longer 10 cents a kilowatt hour. It could be $1 or more, per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Easy. So it's like, you really have to look at things like in as a situational thing. I don't know if fields of wind turbines and solar panels are this green energy solution that we all need. Somehow I don't feel that. But in certain situations, solar power, solar, battery, and wind is amazing. And I think for a survival kind of situation, a prepper kind of thing for security. If I could just pull, 800 watts of power constantly out of the wind and sun on my property. If we were to lose power for a long period of time, we would be much more comfortable, much safer. I would not lose all my product, and that's not a huge amount of power. So just having that kind of security is awesome. And then the other example I bring up all the time is if you're building a building and it's like 50 miles away from civilization, why would you run 50 miles of power lines? Why wouldn't you just do like a solar thing? Like then that makes all the sense in the world. So it's definitely
Especially if you get
situational.
cylinders. Because like that's
Yeah,
the thing. People think, oh, it's a wind turbine. I have to have one of those big ass three-bladed or
right.
more, things that like kill birds in the middle of the desert. Like, you don't have to. Like you can just get cylinders and
But that
it'll
is an extra
like
food source. So
yeah, well, if you're okay
I
with
know
pulling
that's a
bones out.
joke. I know. I'm just.
Well, but here's the thing though. I am okay with pulling bones out because I eat
Mhm.
bones anyway. I
Oh
consume
yeah,
bones. Like you know me, I've got my big bags of bones and I regularly process them down into bone broth. So
hell yeah.
I don't know,
Oh
that
man,
that
it
might
is
not
good
be
for you.
as much of a distractor.
Yeah. Chicken feet broth is definitely one of my favorites. I think we've talked about that too. So makes good stuff.
Yeah, well, I don't do chicken feet because I don't have it or need it. I eat enough like thighs and drumsticks that like I come out with a ton of bones on a regular basis, and I can just process them down.
Do you toast your bones first in the oven? Some people do that.
No,
I don't know if they do it for flavor or if they do it for another reason though.
I don't know why they do it either. I only heard about that like, a couple months ago after my
Mhm.
most recent batch. I only heard about that then because like people were talking about it after I brought up bone broth, but like I feel like the process is maybe if you were to ask me why they do that, it might be to thoroughly heat the impurities off of it.
Okay.
Actually, while you vamp for a bit, I'll look up why they do that. But like I haven't done it and I've been pretty much fine. So
Yeah, so of course in hard times you're gonna have to start using all the parts of the animal, right? So making use of the bones and stuff is a good way to go. One of the things that I always recommend to people is like when you buy chicken, like instead of buying chicken parts, which is fine, if you have a need to that, but like if you buy whole birds, a lot of times you can get them at like a cheaper per pound price, and then you have a lot of extras that you get to use if you know what to do with them, like the back, the skin, the bones, some of the organs, etc. You can make broth, stocks, soups, gravies, etc. So it really I was to get healthy or to be more self sufficient, all that you have to learn how to cook. So if you don't know how to cook, like learn, and it's better. It's better all around for sure. How we doing? Is that
so
enough vamping?
they what I'm reading on Bon Appetit is that um they say you should blanch your bones. Um, and they say that should be done before roasting, and that roasting should definitely be done in order to create deeper flavor. So what they
It is a
suggest
flavor
is,
thing.
yeah, so you bring the like bones in water to a boil and then let them cook at an aggressive simmer for 20 minutes before draining and roasting. So you blanch the bones before you do that. I feel like that wouldn't be necessary though. And they say, um, you know, they like if you think bone broth is too funky, you probably had to suffer through a mug or bowl that was made without blanching. Um, so they say a real bone broth is made with bones and cuts of meat high in collagen, like marrow, knuckles, and feet. While beef is the meat most people associate with bone broth, it can also be made with lamb, pork, chicken, well, you name it. So, uh, that, um, and apparently they say that it should get gelatinous at room temperature, which freaks some people out, I guess. I didn't know that, but like,
That's good
it
stuff,
might.
man. That's how you
Well,
know it's
well,
good.
I knew that it gelatinized. I didn't know that people got upset about it, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
people have weird food stuff, dude. But yeah,
yeah.
that's how you know it's good, man. And you
I
what something else you can do
figured.
is you can bulk make it, put it in mason jars and freeze it. There's usually a line on the mason jar. I know glass and all that, but yes, you can freeze mason jars. But you don't put the lid on all the way and you don't fill it all the way to the top. You need some headspace. But freeze it and then you put the lid on. And you could freeze them and put them in jars. And if you have a canning kit, you can actually can it too in jars and just have it on tap. So because it's a kind of thing, it's just so much easier to make it in bulk, like a couple times a year or whatever, too, than like every time you break a chicken down. Like my mom, she breaks a chicken down, puts the back in the freezer when she has, half a dozen, does a batch. And, you can put all your little bits and pieces and whatever in there, and you can make like some really good like stocks and stuff. And it's a good base for food.
Yeah,
When you
and
make rice, instead of using water, use 3/4 stock and 1/4 water. And it's like the rice is like a meal, it's really good.
yeah, and well, because normally I have used yogurt containers that like have the container and the lid, so there's
Mm-hmm.
no point in throwing that out. It's a fine
Mm-hmm.
container, which is why it had yogurt in it. And so I can throw some bone broth in like one of those yogurt containers and throw that in the freezer and then have another yogurt container with some of it that the broth is just in. And I don't just boil it for the collagen either. I don't boil it for the gel. What I do is I boil it for a really, really long time with salt and apple cider vinegar. And I do that so that the bones themselves start to dissolve. And I don't just have the collagen layer, I have a thick layer of bone paste on the top. And that bone paste is like, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc. It's like a bunch of things that most people would throw out even if they're making bone broth. Like the ramen recipes from East Asia, they tell you to scrape off all the stuff off the top and to not let it get too pasty. They want it to run clear, and I'm like, no. I'm doing this so that I don't waste the bones. I'm not just doing this for flavor, and the bones impart flavor anyway. So, fucking, I don't know why I would do that. So I keep the bones. I boil them. I boil my bone broth for like 20 hours. Or at least as close to that as I can get. And then I've got this really thick collagen stuff with this bone paste floating on top, and it's the entire bone boiled down into it.
I'm kind of surprised they throw that away. They tend to be pretty ballsy with their food choices over there in Asia. For sure. I've been to some Korean barbecue places and I see the stuff that rolls by on that conveyor.
Well, I don't think they throw it out because they're concerned. I think they
Mhm.
throw it out because they want the ramen broth to be clear, like there's some artistic
Oh, I
element to it.
gotcha. That makes sense. That makes
But
sense.
like I don't care, and I'm a filthy American.
We were at one of those places and I was having a conversation and not paying attention. And the wife hands me something off of the conveyor and she's like, "Oh, here, it's like chocolate, for dessert." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I take a bite of it and I'm halfway into taking a bite of it. I realize that it's not chocolate. And recalling the menu, I realize it's gelatinated pig blood. So,
Hmm.
but of course, not wanting to, look like a weenie in front of a group of people, I chewed and swallowed that bite of gelatinated pig blood like a man. Um, and yeah, it was a good time though. It's a good story.
Reminds me of when but I knew about it. I I got partially paid for a job by this South American family with seasoned cow's blood, and it was like a large container of it. I'm not sure if it was pure blood or if it was just like if it was blood mixed into something else, but I chugged it and I felt powerful for like 3 days.
Cool.
So
That's how you get their
I
soul.
mean, and and I'd been working for like all day pretty much with very few breaks, and so like this hit my system really
Mhm.
fucking hard. I was a little concerned because I don't know the health of drinking pure blood if that's what it was, but like I feel like it probably wasn't because that's how you get consumption if you drink your own. So
I eat chicken liver sometimes from our chickens. Not all, but when I'll sear them real quick, they're not. They don't taste, but I feel good after I eat them. So I don't know, if there's something there or what. And I have friends who like they eat like we processed the pig and they took like the kidneys and the all that stuff. I didn't try any of it. More power to them. But I have eaten most of the little weird things in the chicken like once, but like the heart and stuff. It's just I don't know. It's some of it's mental. You know what I mean? That you're eating a heart, and it's just kind of weird. But
well, for
yeah,
other people possibly because I've had this issue since I was 14 that when I see gore I get very hungry. So I see organs and I'm
yeah,
probably gonna get hungry. Um,
primal.
although on the surprise thing score, a funny story is that I was eating in a Japanese restaurant when I was real young with family, and I like avocado. I always
Mhm.
have, and I thought, hey, they handed us some green shit. I didn't know they had this avocado here, and I said, hey, great, that avocado, and my family was like, yeah, go for it, and they knew what it was and they didn't tell me that it was wasabi paste.
Oh,
And so they watched as I put this wasabi paste full on in my mouth. I can still vaguely taste it.
is this what did it to you, Jeremiah? Is this why you're who you are? Is it this?
Nah, that's a long series of other problems. But yeah,
Oh man,
like I was like coughing and fucking like
that's
shedding
mean,
tears and
man.
shit because I was like, I was a real young kid. My taste buds had not become acclimated. But now, hey, actually, for the purposes of this story, I actually have some Reapers. I'll take a bite of this on the podcast here.
Oh, mercy. But it gave you a good inoculation at a young age.
Yeah,
I
I've just
always
been bitten by ever since.
I always like kind of like spicy stuff, but I did notice I built a tolerance. Like it used to take me a while to like finish off a bottle of sriracha, and now it's like a month, you know. So or whatever hot sauce du jour that I happen to have. So
Yeah,
we've we got God. Well, we'll
what
we'll
you?
we'll make Jeremiah tell us news after he eats this.
Yeah,
There, there, there. Hi, I'm Jeremiah Harding, and this is Agorist Nexus. That is a
yeah,
jackass reference. If hope somebody got it.
yeah. You can get these for really cheap on Amazon. So that's what I did. I got 2 pouches. I put two
Those are
of them in my
Carolina
chili
Reapers.
batch.
What are they?
Yeah,
Dried? They're just like dried or something, dehydrated.
yeah, and it's still hot, but like manageable.
Oh, okay. The capsaicin.
Like,
I guess when you don't have the oil, because the capsaicin oil, I think, is really what makes it hot. Like 'cause it sticks
oh,
to you, right?
the oil reconstitutes. It's
Oh,
reconstituting in my mouth right now,
there's a reconstitution in your mouth, and everyone's invited. Hell yeah.
right? And unlike the normal constitution, it's something I consented to. Ha!
Something you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm done with that. I can't. I'm done with the hot buns. Oh shoot. All right,
Yeah,
man.
it's
So
it's it's hot. It was for a bit there the hottest pepper in the world, but it is no longer. It's been knocked down by Pepper X.
oh really? I didn't catch that news. Interesting.
Yeah, but it's still hot. Like I'm uncomfortable
Yeah,
right now for
I'm
sure.
sure that's too hot for me. Habanero is too hot for me. You know what's a trip though? Is that capsaicin doesn't affect birds. So like I'd throw a habanero to my chickens and watch them just eat it and like it's nothing because like oh it gives me the willies.
How many habaneros in Carolina Reaper?
Oh, the Scoville units.
So
I think like Carolina Reaper's like over 1 million or something insane.
Carolina Reaper has a Scoville rating of 1.569300 on average, while habanero has a rating of 100,000.
Okay.
So this is like 150 times hotter than a habanero.
Oh, goodness. All right, cool. You should
But
grow
I'm
some.
calm, as you can
Yeah.
tell. Yeah, I want to. When I get a place of my own, feel free to donate to Agorist Nexus if you want to support authors like us. When I get a place of my own, I plan to for sure, but I'm not going to grow anything here. Only like move out because I hate the place.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we move on to some news, man? What do we want to
Yeah.
start with?
Well, let's start with the Russia situation because I think you wanted to talk some about that, like about Russia's tactical retreat.
Well, so we were talking a little bit before the show about some of this and sort of some, I guess, like mirroring of the past, with sort of what's going on over there now. And like, well, I never know what to make of anything in the news. I feel like that yeah, like the I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on over there, but like I definitely feel that like they really want to make it seem like Russia's doing a lot more poorly than they are in this war or whatever. I don't know, man. I don't really know what the general vibe among people is. I see some "we stand with Ukraine" stuff, around. I think that most people is just the whatever of the day, and they don't really know what's going on. But like, I
Got
don't
to
know. There's
rally the
just
troops.
yeah, exactly. It's almost like whenever there's something you need a war whenever there's something else going on. That's always the big distraction, right? It sort of seems like that's routine. But like with this, I don't know if it's that we're like again. I'm sorry, man. I'm having a hard time with this one. It's just the whole because even talking about like World War II, it's like it's not World War II. It's like, well, you got to go back a decade before that, and then you got to go back a decade before that, and to your Woodrow Wilson, and then I'm sure there's stuff even before him, that started contributing to that sort of stuff. So there's just so much. I was sorry, I'm not sure how to proceed with this line of thinking. It's just such a weird time. Let me say like America. Okay. World War II happened, and supposedly there was an enemy and there was a good guy and this and that. But as we've talked about on the show, right? Like, okay, so like there was, like the Nazis or Germany, and they were the bad guys and we were the good guys. But as with like Operation Paperclip and Cyclone and all this stuff, it's like we were all just sort of the same group from the get-go. It's like it's almost like this was just
Prescott,
a big
Bush, and ThyssenKrupp.
yeah,
Union
but
Bank
before
Corporation.
World War II, and you look at who's the CIA guy? Why can't I think of his name? There's the airports named after Dulles. The Dulleses and stuff. You got like these guys, like they were just, oh man, this shit's going down in Germany. Looks like we might be having a war. Don't worry, guys, we're going to work with you and keep all of our interests in line. Blah blah blah. So it's like almost like it wasn't really an enemy. It was just like a big restructuring of power.
Boogeyman.
Yeah, it was just that all this happened, and then there was just a big restructuring of power. It wasn't a real war. It wasn't like a winner and a loser. It was just like a whole big restructuring. That's what I feel. But my history along these lines and at these times is a little poor. But from the more I've been learning about it lately, that's really the feeling I'm getting. And now I know that my big patch of ums and uhs and I don't know what I'm saying here. The past 5 minutes was a little confusing, but are you sort of getting the gist of what I'm trying to say? And do you think I'm on to anything there?
Yeah, because you started out with people like Prescott Bush, who's the grandfather of Bush Jr., right? Like W. He was helping the Nazis launder their money. He was Union Bank Corporation. He was the guy who founded that, one of the founding members. And that bank would help Germans hide their gold, help them move their money, help them fund their concentration camps and whatever else they were building. That would help them run their entire evil empire. He also had shares in ThyssenKrupp, and ThyssenKrupp was a German steel company, and German steel was needed to put people on railroads. So without his whole deal there, the West would not have had a boogeyman. So Prescott Bush helps them build their boogeyman. So does Bayer. So does IBM. So does Henry Ford. So does Disney. So does all these corporations. And people say, oh, Disney, he had that Donald Duck cartoon, so he couldn't have been pro-Nazi. Propaganda doesn't work that way, especially when the propaganda is, I'm sweating a little.
Nazis wear pants. All right. It's very well known. Donald Duck doesn't wear pants. Ergo,
right?
Can't be Nazi.
Yeah, and their pants were made by Hugo Boss. So, Disney can't be he was a massive anti-Semite, and Disney would regularly run screenings for Nazi movies. So, yeah, he was a fucking Nazi too. They were all Nazis. America was full of Nazis. America loved Nazis, and Hitler even learned some of his eugenics ideas from America.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, like, thanks, the whole thing was like designed from the start, And then we get into World War II, and it's an excuse for all these companies to massively ramp up shit. Even Coca-Cola tacitly accepted Nazis by having an entire drink made so that they could still sell Coke product in Germany. Fanta was just Nazi Coke, but orange flavored. That's what Fanta was. And so all of these things were there at the framework, at the foundation thing, and the U.S. was making a bunch of racist propaganda, which would now get anybody canceled. And it was okay to use slurs, and it was okay, and all this stuff. And they were, still experimenting on black people, and still, being massively racist at home, and fucking running their own concentration camps, which American citizens were being sent off to, right? And they did all of this shit in an effort to build up the base. And then they had the Bundeswehr after the war because they had Nazis who could spy on who could help fight Russia post-war. And they had NATO high-ranking generals creating the Bundeswehr who were ex-Nazis, who were in the Wehrmacht and shit like that. And then all this shit ramps up the production of domestic war supplies, which helps the military industrial complex here. That's why Greylock Partners exists, which partially invested in Facebook because they're all about helping military projects and the US government in general, But they also had the Galen org, which was Reinhard Galen. And Reinhard Galen was also a Nazi, and they said, hey, you had a spy network that was spying on Russia. Do you mind getting your spy network back up and going again so that we could, get the boys back together so that we could use your expertise on spying on Russia? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'd help you spy on Russia. And then after he spied on Russia for a bit, he had some rat lines that he built and got the Germans out of Germany through these rat lines and puts them in South America and places like Argentina, which is why you occasionally find Nazi homes there with big Nazi caches of Nazi memorabilia and shit like that, because they were all rat lined out of Germany and they got to escape. And it's also why they got all these movements globally and why there's still problems with Nazis everywhere, because the US government helps them escape. I wonder why they would do that, and I wonder why they would hire them in NASA. I wonder why they would do all this if they truly hated Nazis and Nazis were truly some exclusively terrible enemy. Well, it's because they were terrible, but so was the US government, and they were racist eugenicists as well. So it's like birds of a feather flock together and kill minorities,
Yeah, wholesome weekend.
Yeah, so like I just don't believe for a second that it was unintentional or like a whoopsie. I don't believe that the US government, like accidentally created the new paradigm for new Nazis. I think that it was sort of a plan all along, and that the whole thing was laundering and building up enterprise. And for those of you listening on audio, I am still breathing a little weird because of the Reaper, but it's mostly died down at this point.
We're professionals here, so
and hey, that's why NATO and the not and the Nazis that are still in the lineage of NATO in the West are so okay with funding the Azov Battalion, C-14 Right Sector, and Svoboda and all these people in Ukraine who would be considered domestic terrorists if they were funded here. Like the ADL and SPLC can cry about these symbols and like, oh, he used this symbol, he must be a white supremacist. He drank milk on a stream once, he must be a white supremacist. All this stuff. But now that the Azov Battalion has a fucking Sonnenrad and a Volkswagen in their symbol, we're not allowed to talk about it anymore because the US is funding those people, and they're just the cuddly Nazis. Like, actually, I wrote tweets on that this morning that I can read. They're just like 3 brief tweets here. But I wrote tweets because these things were trending, and I wanted to see if I could hijack a trend. I'm capable of doing that. Most of the time it doesn't work, but it's sort of like, Robert Heinlein quote, certainly the game is rigged. Don't let that stop you. If you don't bet, you can't win. So I wrote, American Democrats like to talk about fascism in the far right, but only to point at the other guy. Meanwhile, the other guy would have nowhere near as much power to enact fascist policy without things like Joe Biden's Patriot Act, his crime bill, or his police overfunding. If the world wonders why America is so eager to hand money to a bunch of people they would put on Nazi wash lists were they domestic, they should realize the answer is in the question. They don't actually oppose Nazis. Some of them aren't that different. World War II never ended. You can run campaigns partially on Trump enabling bigotry and saying very fine people about Charlottesville and Proud Boys, but we now have Democrats literally funding, arming, and training Nazis and saying some of them are heroes, and none of you give a shit. Never did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the hypocrisy isn't the right word here, but it's just lack of consistency. Maybe that's the way to say it. It just really exposes that it's, I don't know, people don't mean what they say. People have a feeling and they try and roll with that maybe. So answer me this then. Why? Okay, so we had the claim, right? Okay, whatever, Russia is communist and communism is bad, so Russia bad.
Even though it wasn't, and Emma Goldman can attest to that.
Right. And so that's so let's say that was whether it was real or not, whatever, that was sort of what we were rolling with for a while. Cold War kind of ends in let's say the 80s. Why are we, and by we, of course, I mean the world government, United States empire, what have you. Why are we just trying to build up a war for, let's say, profit and distraction against Russia? Or is there some reason that we don't like Russia, that we want to fuck with Russia? Are they just an easy boogeyman, or is there an actual reason?
Easy boogeyman territory, because the West does what Russia is doing now all the time and doesn't get sanctioned.
Yeah. Oh boy, do they. Yeah.
And because if they really gave a shit about humanitarian things, they wouldn't be selling $5 billion in weapons to Saudi Arabia. So the Cold War never really ended. World War II never really ended. It's just all a continuation of the same thing. Like the CIA sort of sprung into existence to deal with the communist threat, and ever since they've been there, they've been funding groups and things in order to sort of excuse their existence, make it so that they can stay in power, stay doing what they're doing. So, like, CIA funded Reinhard Gehlen's Nazi spy organization. The CIA funded the Mujahideen in Afghanistan with Cyclone. The CIA funded the MK Ultra programs because Russia is scary. So Reinhard Gehlen's organization was like, we gotta fight Russia. The Cyclone stuff was Afghanistan is fighting Russia. The NASA stuff was we need to get into space in order to fight Russia. So we'll paperclip some CIA paperclip some Nazis in so that we can fight Russia in space too. And we'll CIA some Nazis to fight Russia. We'll CIA some Mujahideen to fight Russia. We'll do all these things to fight Russia, and it's just designed to keep them perpetually relevant. And now, like for about a decade now, the CIA has been working with Ukrainians too. Like they literally did that. There's news coverage you can read, even in mainstream outlets, if you know where to look, about how the people on the ground there were talking about being trained, armed, and funded by the CIA in the West. And so the CIA literally created this too, and now they're using them to fight Russia, and it's always to fight Russia, to fight Russia, to fight Russia. We need communism stopped, or like in terms of like communism in general. Oh yeah, we need to stage a coup to oust Allende and install Pinochet. We need to run an ouster for Castro and constantly try to assassinate him with a bunch of increasingly insane methods, like poisoning his cigars or having an exploding cigar or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
hiring Jack Ruby to assassinate him.
We need to help fund the Iranians, and also help support the Contras in Nicaragua because they're far right too, so that we can have cocaine imported into our inner cities and have an excuse for domestic surveillance and control. And all these things are just designed to keep the U.S. government programs relevant, which means to me that the Cold War never actually ended. It just seemed like it ended so that it could give Americans a satisfying enough conclusion that they would stay subscribed to the program, instead of saying, how many episodes can we stretch this show on for?
It's funny. I was talking to somebody this morning about this, and I was really trying to put it into words, but it's kind of along these same lines. It's like I always wonder how much, you know, okay, so history, especially history that we learn in like school, right, is only government events, right? That's what history is, right? It's only a government event, right? Which is, of course, complete bullshit, you know? And it leaves us talking about people who are fucking worthless while the people who actually grind it out, make the world work, get left behind. But at any rate, but in that sense, like history, like what we think of history as like certain events, you know, we think of events that like change the course of history, you know? And I kind of sometimes like, man, it's like, are they really changing the course of history, or is it really just changing how we're recording history, like from that point? You know what I mean? It's like I wonder how much effect on the actual, obviously some events have an actual effect on acts and decisions that people make in the future, you know. Yep. I think a lot of times it's just the reporting on those events that make those changes. And of course these are things that are kind of like we don't really know we don't know what would have happened if this event hadn't have happened, right? We don't know what would have happened, how people would have reacted, what would have happened the next day, you know, how this other government or country would have reacted. But then to add another layer on top of that, we don't know how much of it's fucking real and not just fucking made up and bullshit by these fucking governments anyhow, as to these events that actually happen versus how much of it's orchestrated, you know. But it's just the older I get and the more shit that I see and the more shit that I read, the more I'm just like, it's not like it's not real, right? Like they're
manufactured.
Yeah, it's just so manufactured, everything, the narrative, to the history, to the thing, to where, and I think this gets people, even like liberty people that I really like, you know, I think it gets them on some fucked up lines of thinking too, because it gets very binary. Well, we look at the past and this happened, so obviously we have, you know, we have to do the opposite of that this time, or anybody who's against this event must be on our side. You know, it's kind of like the equivalent, like, you know, the Lolbert kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like we, you know, oh, just because I don't know, man. It's just it's just been very tough, and I've sort of been trying to figure that out, and I've just been really sorry.
Well,
I know this is terrible
propaganda.
I'm working it out on the show here with you guys, so bear with me.
It's propaganda. It's a lot to parse, you know. Yeah. And that's part of the thing. Like that, when you realize that it's all propaganda, you realize that, for instance, this thing where Russia is starting to lose, like, no, the Western media wants to make it seem that way temporarily so that they get excuses for more funding, when they're like, you know, already living like so much money hand over fist to these people. Like, fucking literal Nazis getting freed from Russian custody are getting called heroes by the West, by Western press. Like, guys who've posed proudly alongside Soninrad, guys who, you know, who've been key members and commanders of the Azov battalions for the Azov battalion for like a decade now, right? Mm-hmm. The whole, I mean, not quite a decade, but basically a decade. The whole thing is designed to keep people forgetting who these people are, and, you know, being accepting of the fact that they've got tens of billions of dollars coming to them, while 20 billion would solve homelessness annually. You know,
right?
Like, so you've got to make them seem like they're winning, because then you can continue to hand money to these people, because all we need is a little more. And then it's just, all we need is a little more. All we need is a little more. We're winning. We promise. All we need is a little more. You know, because then it seems like your money isn't going to waste if it is going to these people. Because if it's going to these people and it's going to waste, then you might as well not send it. But if it's going to these people and it's not going to waste, it justifies sending more, according to the people who don't understand the situation fully. You know, like, that's what it is. So they want Russia to seem like they're losing, and simultaneously they'll blame climate change for their reason for the high energy prices and the energy shutoffs, and they won't in Eastern Europe, and they won't admit that the real reason it's happening is because Russia is shutting off the natural gas pipeline that the West has relied on for a significant fucking period of time. So it's like Russia is creating economic pressure. They're shutting off their natural gas pipeline, and Eastern Europe will be absolutely fucked in winter because it's
do you
supposed to be a
think that
really
like
cold winter.
do you think people are like going to die and shit because of that? Do you think it's actually going to be like? Because I've heard
Yes,
that. I mean, obviously it makes sense. Like, yes, like they need that energy. Like, that's going to happen though, right? Like, I don't mean to sound
sanctions
excited
are
when
an
I say
act of
that.
war.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's just like, and that's crazy since like they're doing that to themselves. Yeah, but are they really in control, right? Which goes back to our whole thing of like it's just one big the devil's chessboard, dude. You know, to use the
Yeah,
title of that book, man. It's
for
it
real.
really just seemed that way because otherwise, why would like Germany cut off their own supply to what their people need to live like
Oh
on their
well,
own accord,
Germany.
right?
But so Germany put sanctions on Russian oil, but
Mm-hmm.
Germany is part of this whole like bloc, right? So if Russia shuts it off from their end, the whole bloc suffers, and Germany can't rely on things from other people either. And so the whole point is to say, hey, you want to start cutting us off, we'll cut you off. And the US has this massive boogeyman still. And that's why they're trying to make everybody afraid of nuclear war because, oh, they want to take this plant and blow it up or, cause some sort of shit. They want to fucking the next Chernobyl in Ukraine. But A, that's not going to happen because Russia knows what that means. And B, they've been screaming about nuclear shit from the fucking start, and it hasn't happened yet. And then tertiarily, the whole point of this war is to build the new Ukraine, which will be a smart Ukraine where the entire globe can have digital citizenship if they apply. So you can apply after this whole thing is over to become, and this is something they have admitted to. I am quoting their ministers on this subject. I'm not creating fake news, right? This is, and I only say it in that frantic, kind of irritated way because so many people accused me of it when I talked about it and I fucking quoted their people on it. Fucking shut the fuck. So, just to be super clear, that's what's happening. And they're saying we're going to create this new Ukraine. It's going to be AI facial recognition. It's going to be central currency. It's going to be you can start a business or buy real property from your
Green
phone.
energy, all green energy
Yeah,
too. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Everything's going to be AI courts. Your fate might be decided by an AI court system, and
Wow.
all of that compiled with the infrastructure to fit into a global CBDC system and digital fucking citizenship where anybody and everybody can be a citizen if they want anywhere in the world. That's what they've been wanting. It's been their plan for a while. And so they created it, right? They created this catastrophe so that they could destroy it. And then the reformation will include infrastructure efforts to set up the new smart utopia right on Russia's doorstep. And this smart utopia will be a dystopia because we both know how that's going to turn out because we're based and Chad pilled enough to have read my articles on the Great Reset and the COVID-19 panopticon. And they'll do all of this so that they have the ability to centrally control the economy and also the e-citizenship of foreign nations. The globalists are going to write in globalism on the back of everybody getting e-citizenship and we're all global citizens and but like the common person's going to get fucked over. Like I went over this in a video about how cashless society is going to help the rich and kill the poor. Um, you know, but people aren't supposed to care about that. So I'm being terrible. I'm being terrible, even suggesting that this is a planned conflict, and that's why the CIA was involved from the start. I'm terrible. Nobody should listen to me. In fact, I should be censored and maybe even killed. Just putting it out there. If you want to get rid of me, you'll probably have to do that. Because I'm not going to stop, even though I'm the worst. Don't listen to me. I'm wrong.
He's being facetious, guys. Continue listening, please. Our lives depend on it.
Yeah,
So,
right. And hit that donate. We've got a fundraiser for a documentary. We've got the donate button. We've got Subscribe Star. You can get a custom role in our Discord server if you support us by any of those. Like, we have options.
Hell
Go
yeah.
ahead though.
Oh, another. I was just gonna say, was there anything else on that? We should probably move on to Iran if we're gonna cover Iran. But if you had any other thoughts on
I mean, yeah, because the Iran situation is basically just Maza Amini, if I remember her
Mhm.
name correctly, was offed by the morality police, as they're being like jokingly referred. Um, and she was offed because they beat her until she was unconscious and later died because, so they murdered her. And I'm not, by the way, I do not minimize that. It's awful. It's a tragedy. It's government oppression in its rawest form. It's evil and brutal. I'm prefacing that by saying that because I feel like what is super required here is to be on a similar page. When I start saying things like the only reason they don't care about other people in the region is because those countries have like central banks and are part of the hegemony. So like there's a bunch of women cutting their hair and protesting, and there's like protests and cop cars being vandalized, which based, but like this has been happening so much and everywhere that when this stuff starts to become popular in places like Iran, I'm like, well, why not Saudi Arabia? Well, because Saudi Arabia, even though they're committing a genocide in Yemen, regularly kill homosexuals and women, and just executed 81 people in a mass execution, um, including 41 people who were just political dissident protesters, even though they hacked Jamal Khashoggi to pieces, even though all these things are true, you're not allowed to say them about Saudi Arabia or have global protests about Saudi Arabia, because if you do, you're talking against one of the people the Sovereign Wealth Fund enables, Facebook, Google, uh, Boeing, like so many examples of companies that just directly benefited from Saudi Arabian money. And so they're doing all of this, and we're just supposed to sit back and say, yeah, that's acceptable, because it's not Iran. Iran, comparatively, if I understand correctly, does less of this kind of thing, but it all gets publicized more because the West doesn't fully control them yet. Um,
a
you
couple
know,
things here, real quick, if you don't mind. So they're protesting. So this woman got beaten and killed by the morality police, and they're protesting because of that. I was thinking they were
yes.
protesting and they killed her because of them. Okay, so they're protesting because that happened. Um, so like to make your point, even like the fact that they are even able to protest like without just all being murdered, like it's if
Well,
it's
there
such
have been a
a
lot of people killed during the protest, just to be
mhm,
clear. Like I think 30
sure,
plus the last time I checked.
okay, but I guess like a race like I guess like they could
But
just
that would
mow
happen in
everybody
Saudi
down,
Arabia too.
right? Yeah.
Also,
It,
fun fact, I just touched my eye with Carolina Reapers, so I shouldn't have done that.
oh no, you should
But
not have.
either way, the point is that like, they have this issue because of like, you know, I think Western influence has really ramped things up in the region because the West has been wanting to control that place for a while. Even Donnie Drain the Swampy Trumpy Daddy, he fucking killed one of their generals in plain daylight and nothing because they have no global power. Their hegemony is not, they aren't part of the global hegemony that the US is the head of. But Saudi Arabia is part of it. They're the richest royal family on the planet, like the House of Saud. And so you don't get to bring up that the House of Saud gave a huge amount of money to Facebook. That one of the princes, Prince Al Walid bin Talal, was like a huge investor in Twitter, and at one point had more money invested in Twitter than Jack Dorsey, making him the guy who basically ran the joint, in terms of decision making power. And that might be why places like Twitter, um, somehow all of the Saudi Arabian accounts aren't joining people in Pride Month. Somehow they're not joining people in Women's Month. I wonder fucking why. Maybe it's because the West props up those people while they continue to commit heinous human rights abuses, and oppose the basic, civil decency, that should be granted to these minorities, because they don't have to give a shit. And because on Twitter, at least, and on, all these places, it's okay to be against minorities as long as you're on the side of the US. That's why the Ukrainian neo-Nazis got to post a video of them loading up a bunch of bullets with lard to kill Kadyrov orcs.
Yeah.
Because they're Muslim, and it's okay to shoot Muslims with lard bullets and keep your blue check on Twitter.
Oh, shit. Well, it's a mess. Speaking of propaganda and stuff, I watched a little bit of Fox News this week, which is always just like it's just as shitty, but it is so much more entertaining than the other side of the news. I gotta say that, even though I know it's both the same shit. But I was gonna say this thing is. I mean, I'm sorry. Unless anything else with Iran, and go ahead. Otherwise,
I mean,
links
that's
here.
basically it. If you really care about women. Oh, also, if you care about women and you're a true ally of social justice, be sure to subscribe to my new email newsletter. There will be a link in the description. I'm going to rant and rave about a bunch of shit, and there's an email about this that I will link there. And so you can you can put your email in there if you want, if you like that sort of thing, if you just want a good summary of the situation. Go ahead, though. We can move
Shit,
on.
buddy. Okay, so I thought of this like 3 topics ago. This thing I wanted to bring it up. So it was funny to me anyhow. But because you mentioned we've been talking about propaganda, you mentioned homelessness and stuff. And one of the segments in this Fox News, they were out in San Francisco or Portland or one of these, places where it's just basically tent cities, And there was this video this guy taking of a homeless man, on the sidewalk, pooping in a grocery bag and then flinging it at people, And so obviously this man has problems, right? One way or another. But so Fox News goes out to interview the homeless man who was flinging the poop. And like they're trying to like seriously interview this guy who is kind of ranting and raving, because he's has problems, right? But just like the seriousness
Yeah.
that they tried to interview the guy, and then like back at the thing, like analyze his answers. He said he's paralyzed, but he looks like he's walking around just fine to me. It's like, yeah, dude, he's living on the street, pooping in a bag and hurling it at people. You're not getting like a good interview out of this dude. I don't know what to tell you, man. But it was just so like crazy. It is funny. I always got to make sure I watch a little bit of like I listen to some NPR news, and I got to watch some Fox News too to balance it out. And just I was talking to my wife about this too, that it's just kind of good to know where their head's at sometimes, But
Yeah, well,
but
it's
then I think there's
on
people that
that
watch it and take it seriously, and that's what's horrifying. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, on that score, like, for instance, Tucker Carlson is willing to have some people on who other people wouldn't, and
Mm-hmm.
he's willing to have people on who he disagrees with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's willing to say things that are seemingly heterodox to the cultural narrative. But he always has to throw in something about Black Lives Matter being evil. He always has to throw something in there about trans people being evil, about the agenda, about something, about white people, about, all these little things that he needles in there. Like Fox News does exactly the same thing as other media organizations do, just for that side. And both of the sides are fundamentally controlled opposition. Like, they don't actually care. And that's the reason, they don't platform people like me. I doubt I'll ever be on Tucker Carlson. But like, he's
That'd be a
willing to
day. Yeah.
he's willing to platform people who are very, very bad influences on culture, because he says that he's trying to be impartial. Well, impartiality would be not constantly needling every allegedly leftist but ultimately state capitalist organization or a group of people you don't like, and it wouldn't be
Mhm.
constantly being like, oh yeah, trans people are gonna come for your children. No, and most of them aren't doing any of that stuff. The vast majority of them don't like those people that you're talking about. But it doesn't matter with him. It doesn't matter with him.
Whatever any of them, and that's really, and even on that note, it's what bothers me with this. Everything is like the scapegoating. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Yeah,
like bitch about like like the gays. I'm like, gay people aren't doing this. You know what I mean? Like, you know who bitches at me about like this woke shit? It's white women. You know what I mean? That's who yells at me
yeah.
about this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and now are there some people with an agenda that isn't like wholesome? Like, yes, I'm sure, but that's not like gay people. You know what I mean? It's not like trans people. You know, so it's the scapegoating. The scapegoating sucks, and it always happens. And I hate to see people who are supposed to be pro liberty doing that same thing, because that's where we should be the people watching out for that kind of shit and being like, look, man, Joe's people individually. You know, I watched
Yeah,
Tucker.
like that.
That was one of the ones I'd
Go ahead.
watched. Oh, I was just say Tucker was one of the shows I'd watched because he is supposed to be the better one, right? And then Hannity came on right after, which was insane. Oh my god! But Tucker, he did some of the stuff okay. Like he had some decent things he was saying, or some stories that were okay. But then like he got in this one thing, and he's talking about Sweden or something. I guess they have a lot of bombings, and he's saying it's because of the migrants that came there, and like that, you know, the refugees or whatever, which could totally be true. But here's the thing: is he talks about these bombings, but he never once mentioned there was a bombing that happened this last week, and he never once mentioned who did it. You know,
Right.
he never said it was migrants doing the bombings, but he heavily inferred that since the migrants had been there, bombings had increased. So much so that their government just started keeping track of it, which they didn't keep track of it before. And I was like, okay, so then how do you know how much they've increased if they didn't keep track of them? You know, that'd be my other question. You know, but it's just like
Well,
simple,
and
basic journalistic
if we
shit
go
that you
on
should
those,
throw in there. You know, and I'm
if
not
we
saying
go
he's
on
wrong. I'm
those
not saying it's
levels,
not the migrants, but he didn't sell me on it.
and if we go on those levels, Trump removed the drone reporting mandate that Obama had put in place, so Trump could drone as much as he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and not have to tell people who, how many, or where. Which means the U.S. got away with a huge amount of bombings in impunity in the places where these refugees are suddenly coming from. So, hey, maybe if you bomb their territory out, they might come to your place and have some issues with you, you
Yeah.
know? But the West's bombs are totally acceptable bombs, and that's why Biden hasn't reintroduced the reporting mandate, and also why he's totally okay with now removing the reporting on how much money is being sent to Ukraine, because it was already more foreign aid than literally any other and many others combined. And, you know, so we can't know how much money he's sending to Ukraine now. That's wrong. You know, so all these bombings can take place because of the West, but the moment the West has any of these, it must be because of those other people. And also, of course, totally not blowback. Like, you can't think about things in terms of blowback without being maligned, or in Ron Paul's case, like blackballed. You can't
Yeah.
talk about how maybe we shouldn't be over there doing all this imperialist nonsense. And maybe if they were doing the same thing in neighboring countries or right there on our doorstep, we would have fucking problems with it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why so many people have fucking problems with us.
Yeah. Well, that's my
Tons.
thing is
And
a lot of those like people like these like they bitch about the migrants, and I'm like, but you know that they're there because of government foreign meddling. Like, why are they the
why aren't they
asset to
back in
this?
their home? Why aren't they
You know
back in
what I
their home
mean?
country where all their
Yeah.
culture is established? Because you fucking moved them by blowing up their shit, you
Yeah.
cunt.
Yeah. So,
You
all right.
know, like that. And then of course there's the, you know, there's people like the loser who just bounced from the GC because, like, you know, oh, you support trans people at all, so clearly it's you know, it's some terrible issue that you're not on the same team with me, man. Like, I've been called a pedophile so much lately, despite a long and storied history of helping victims of CSA, of getting those people reported, of getting those people away from communities, of being maligned and like publicly publicly lambasted for even going after these people, despite all of my history of helping people avoid and get away from these people, and putting these people on watch lists and getting these people away from everybody, sometimes even helping them get arrested. I'm suddenly the bad guy in this regard because I support trans people. And this guy, like, he didn't like that his fucking anti-trans agenda was being criticized, while he was also spewing racist nonsense that he literally just copied and pasted from 4chan. He didn't like that. So he bounced from the GZ after being sanctimonious and bullshitted about it. You know, and now all he's doing is insulting anarchists, libertarians, and specifically podcasters. So if you wanted to be on the podcast, all you had to do was ask. You didn't have to be a racist, transphobic piece of shit.
Could have just been nice and gotten on here and then come out with the racist, transphobic stuff, and we wouldn't have been able to stop you at that point. So, bad move,
Yeah.
buddy.
Lost your
chess.
opportunity
Yep.
for your 5D chats. Fucking.
I mean, I guess we would
You
have
gotta
had the
learn from
option
your
to not
Trumpy.
air the episodes since we don't stream, but whatever. It would have been fun
Well,
anyhow.
I might have given him like a fucking beat down over it, so it might have been fun to listen to anyway. Like we could have made that bonus content.
Yeah.
Oh shucks, oh darn, oh golly gee.
Oh fuck. All right, man. Well, I think this was a pretty good one. I should get out and do some hurricane prep though, so we should probably wrap it up. We want to do plugs and whatnot.
Yeah, so why don't you talk about the documentary? Because like people hearing it from me
Sure.
probably don't have like just the scope.
Sure. I'll try, but I will say you're the better promoter of the two. The documentary is gonna be really cool. I'll just say that I did a lot of the fact checking and stuff for the documentary, and it was like 20 pages of sources, like just of the source URLs. Like there was so much stuff here to go through, and it was really amazing. And I think I've said this here before, but one of the things I think this is so important is because it's so easy to forget what happened. And I'm saying that from my experience because doing this fact checking, I was like, oh my God, I forgot we covered this on the podcast. Even I forgot all about this, whatever silly travel ban or concentration camps or I'm sorry, FEMA camps. By the way, did you know they're giving $9,000 for funeral expenses if somebody died of COVID? So my thought, I'm sorry, quick tangent, I just had to come up with this. I was talking to somebody about the other day, and I was like, man, it's almost like if your loved one was wrongfully marked as a COVID death, but suddenly the FEMA's going to give you $9,000 for that, it might hush you up a little bit, huh? Anyhow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the hits just keep on coming. But yeah, man, it's going back and remembering this stuff that just totally like forgotten about. It's like so much stuff happened so fast. It was just so crazy. So getting this documentary and getting this down like in the historical records, other than by the government,
putting it all in one place.
Yeah, I just think it's really huge, and I think it's very important, and I'll be really excited to do it. So anybody who wants to help, we have a donate link and everything that we will have in the show notes, I'm sure. And yeah, I mean, feel free. Otherwise, man, support the Nexus in general. There's a donate page on the website that helps support the writers, helps get some content out there. Make sure to support the people who are listed on our business listing. If you need to do some shopping, shop with other Liberty businesses. That's always an excellent idea. And then, of course, if you have anything to sell, get it out there. Of course, Agorist Acres, sponsor the show. I don't know. Right now, we're doing like a Nexus 10% off for our listeners, and then a 10% donation to the Nexus. I'm not going to announce it right now because I can't promise that I'll do it today, but I'm going to up both of those numbers. I'm going to make a bigger discount for Nexus listeners and a bigger donation to the Nexus as well.
Cool.
Hold on, let me write this down. Okay, but I'm not gonna say. Well, I'll let you guys know when it's done when I announce it. But I'll do that at some point here this week. I'm doing a bunch of work, ordering a bunch of new seeds. We get a bunch of new stuff going up on the website as well. We're getting milkweed. So if you want to do something for the butterflies, for the monarchs, a lot of people are into that. I've been getting a lot of requests to get the milkweed. It's a whole thing because there's different ones for different regions. But I'm getting that up there. I'm working on it. I promise. So yeah, guys, check it out. And then of course support Jeremiah. He's doing a lot of work these days, putting me to shame for sure. So definitely do whatever you can to help this guy out.
You say that, but you're working on a homestead. Like the purpose of anarchy should be to do as much yourself as possible. Like, I wouldn't say I'm doing more work just because I'm doing more stuff that's visible online. Plus, you'll be able to see his stuff once he starts his gardening series, which I don't know if maybe like waiting for the hurricane would be a good idea, but like,
that's part of it.
Yeah.
I got my
Once,
computer and I'm getting my monitor hopefully tomorrow, so I'll be able to get video editing set up on an actual decent computer that can handle it. So I am hoping to get some I'm hoping to get something started here very soon for that for sure.
and you'll be able to watch him garden like in some like semi-frequent series that we'll be posting exclusively to Odyssey.
Yes, gardening amongst other skills, general repair, hopefully some 3D printing stuff, maybe some 3D printing firearm stuff. We'll see where it takes us. But yeah, otherwise general homestead stuff, projects, prepping, all that good stuff. So hopefully you guys can just sort of join me here with my journey, and hopefully if you guys are trying to do any homesteading yourself, we can collaborate and make your experience much better and more fruitful.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, that was good. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And since we need a quote, I have one pulled up that's rather long because I want to piss some people off. If we are to keep the term capitalism at all, then we must distinguish between free market capitalism on the one hand and state capitalism on the other. The two are as different as day and night in their nature and consequences. Free market capitalism is a network of free and voluntary exchanges in which producers work, produce, and exchange their products for the products of others through prices voluntarily arrived at. State capitalism consists of one or more groups making use of the coercive apparatus of the government, the state, to accumulate capital for themselves by expropriating the production of others by force and violence. Throughout history, states have existed as instruments for organized predation and exploitation. It doesn't much matter which group of people happen to gain control of this state at any given time, whether it be the Oriental despots, kings, landlords, privileged merchants, army officers, or communist parties. The result is everywhere and always the coercive mulcting of the mass of producers. In most centuries, of course, largely the peasantry, by a ruling class of dominant rulers and their hired professional bureaucracy. Generally, the state has its inception in naked banditry and conquest, after which the conquerors settle down among the subject population to exact permanent and continuing tribute in the form of taxation, and to parcel out the land of the of the peasants in huge tracts to the conquering warlords, who then proceed to extract rent. Murray Rothbard.
Of course, next is out. Peace.
Join the revolution starting inside, an instrumental part of Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide. Counter economics, Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist, 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 Agorist.